Welcome, everyone, to the Alive with Courage podcast. I'm here with Jack Ramirez. Really excited to dive into this conversation because Jack is just such a beautiful example of stepping out into the world alive with courage. And so I'm really excited to dive into your story, man, and check out how God's been moving through your calling and your vision and what you're here to create. Why don't you just take a second, just to introduce yourself, who you are, kids, family, and work, and what you're up to.
Yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Jack Ramirez. I have a beautiful wife and two amazing boys, JP and Jacob, 17 and 13. And I'm the owner of a construction company here in Altadena, California.
That's awesome. Jack, you and I came, we came to know each other maybe 3 years ago, just through an exchange where your wife, Jen, it was in a YPO group with a client of mine, Kurt. And Kurt and I had been working together for a while, and Jen was looking for an executive coach for her chief development
Yep.
officer who was kind of on the verge of burnout, really high performing guy, like creating all kinds of growth for Wetzel's Pretzels is where she was working at the time as the CEO. And then I remember getting on a call with Jen. She's telling me all about the chief development officer. And then right as we're closing, she's like, and I might have another person for you, my husband, Jack. And that started an introduction. And I think you and I traded a few emails, might have even had a conversation. I'm curious what was that like when she was inviting you into that
Well,
space?
I remember very distinctly like what a wonderful job you did with, um, and she was just praising. He's like, man, he did one like he flipped him around, like became able to do much more than he was doing before, and didn't feel as busy and all these things. And she was describing all this stuff to me, and I remember saying, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And because then she started telling me, you need a coach. You need a coach. Like, yeah, no, I don't need a coach. I don't need a coach. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. She was just meet him, just have an introductory call. You just never know. And like you said, I think we did have a call, but I was like, yeah, I'm too busy. I don't think it's right for me right now after the initial
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like things go, we dialogue back and forth for a year, checking in and like at some point something flipped, right? And I'm curious, maybe you can just describe like A, what flipped for you where you're like, hey, I want to take this seriously. And then B, describe who was Jack as a leader, let's say 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I think the first word that comes to mind is just hurry. I was a man always on the go. Was going. I was always like 2 to 3 minutes late to a meeting, because I was rushing from one thing to the next, always rushing from one thing to the next. I didn't feel like I didn't have enough time to do all the things I needed to do. But um, and that's who I was, and I always felt like I was always like having to drag people. Come on, I'm at my pace, right? Whether it be my coworkers or my team or my family, there I was always in a hurry. Like, come on, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. So I think that the word hurry is would probably be the best way to describe me, and like always I think panic is too strong, but always in that hurried mindset, that hurried state of mind. And so yeah, I think, and if I'm honest with it, I think the point um that I finally said yes to, we are slowing down a little bit with business, and I was like, oh, okay, I feel like I have a little breath to be able to work with that. So I think we reached out, and we came to an agreement in that December of, I think it was 23.
Yeah.
December
Yep.
of 23, and we started that process then. But it was, I thought I had a little break to do things, so finally maybe do it, put things into place with this. And I was ready to make a change because I just didn't like the way I was living this hurried life.
Yeah. Yeah. Just hearing you describe that and knowing what you do, you're like, hey, I'm a general contractor. I've got all these moving pieces, all these moving people. And in a lot of ways, it sounds like you're just describing the normal life of a general
Yeah,
contractor.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
this is the territory, right? And I remember some of our initial conversations, and I think one of the things you said to me that was hard to hear, but you basically said, "Hey, man, when I go on vacation, I have such a hard time actually resting. It takes multiple days for me to actually come down off the hurry life that I've been on. And then secondly, I'm just getting pinged left and right all the time of contractors or whoever needing inputs from me.
Yeah, team
And
or
I just,
subcontractors or clients all the time. Yeah, it never stop. Yeah.
yeah. it was all funneling to you. Like the whole thing was set up to funnel to you. Is that how it
Yeah,
was?
it was. It was all set up to I was the bottleneck. I was always the bottom with everything. With decisions or with proposals, with everything. I was the bottleneck. I was the one that slowed things down. And then but one more thing I'm gonna add, just it made me think of that too, is this part of that too, by being in a hurry, by constantly doing it, it fed something that I liked too. It was a I don't think it was ultimately good, but it did feed something that made me feel good about like I'm doing these things, I'm knocking these things off, right?
Mm,
But it at the end, the day, it just been good for not only me, but just my family and the business.
yeah, it feels good to put out fires
Correct. Yeah.
and be the fireman, but people are getting burned. Like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
shoot.
Leaving a mess around me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as you're saying that we talk about this idea of like, noticing habits and patterns and then asking ourselves, well, what's the payoff? Like, what does Jack get
Yeah.
under the table for running this lifestyle or running this pattern of how he leads? And so that, yeah, that's interesting. It's like, well, I get to feel heroic or I get to feel like I'm busy and I'm active and I'm doing things right. But on the surface, it's, it's
Yeah.
cost.
It wasn't productive though. I mean, I was busy and I was doing things, but it seemed like I was like chasing my tail all the time. It wasn't like I felt like I were
Mm,
growing. It was just like, like this, it wasn't moving forward. And,
yeah.
and then, my family took its a toll and my team took a toll, I'd say a little bit, and just in terms of that sort of way of me, 'cause I was like, "Man, come on, catch up, catch up." I was like, catch up with me. Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, yeah, I know my wife didn't like it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm just thinking of your team and how that could even develop resentment or more lack of trust on the
Yeah,
team. They're not keeping up.
keeping up, yeah,
Because I know you have a very different perspective of your team now.
Oh,
Like, so that'll be to kind of see what shifted there. Okay, so you say yes to coaching. We hit play. You make an investment, which is no small
yeah,
investment. Like you're in, right? And I remember all these coaching conversations, they start with a conversation around vision. And typically we spend a lot of time working on vision until we press play and we're like, hey, let's go. And we'll talk about vision in a second, but something else in our work grabbed you super quick. Like
so first, I
what that
remember
was?
the first
Yeah.
thing I remember just integrity, and I always thought myself as a man of integrity, like moral integrity, like I'm doing the right thing often. I care for people. I yeah, I'm doing the right thing. And what we found out is that was my integrity is lacking, and it wasn't a moral thing, right? It was just, am I doing what I'm saying I'm going to be doing? And I wasn't, and I was that notice from you initially is like, "This is crazy. I'm not a man of integrity, not the man of integrity that I thought I was." And so, like I said, it wasn't a moral thing, it was just like, am I doing what I'm saying I'm gonna do? And whether it be from proposals or to being at this meeting or whatever the case is, a few minutes late or, a week late with the proposal or a couple of days late, and that broke trust with clients. And what I didn't realize is that it put this weight on me, this weight.
Mm,
There was a weight on me that I didn't know. I could feel it, but I didn't know where it's coming from. And until we recognized that in our first couple of weeks of working together, until we recognized that, I didn't know where it was coming from. And when we got it resolved and I started making up for these things and talking to people, I'm sorry, hey, I'm gonna make this up. I could feel this weight just lifted, right? Lifted. And then as we were working through it, I was the things I did say I was going to commit to, if I didn't, I renegotiated beforehand and it kept that weight off. So that was just huge, huge. Those first 2 to 3 weeks was huge because there was something there that I couldn't see. And I think that was part of the reason why I was hoping I could get out of coaching, right? In addition to helping me see where I want to be with my company, where we want to grow. But I
mm,
didn't know this. I didn't know this at all. And it was just the beginnings of what I think is helping still work in me now of where I want to be, in the next few years of things. So yeah, that was huge.
yeah. That's thinking back on it. Yeah, you've been one of the clients that has really grabbed onto this integrity concept and you grabbed onto that. Like and you grabbed onto it early. You were like, whoa, this is a tool that's like life changing personally for me. But you know what it did is because when you start working with a new client, you're still building trust actually between coach and client and all that. And when I saw you grab onto that, it flooded my relationship with you with trust.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, holy moly, like this guy's serious. He's going after it week after week. He says he'll do these things and then he does it. And it's so cool to hear how it shifted what happened in you. But for me, it just flooded our relationship with trust. And I was like, wow, okay, this guy's a live one. Like we're gonna go for now. Yeah, well, and let's just slow down a second. Like this idea of integrity. So, like you said, most people think integrity is, being a moral person, a great character, a good man, right? And that's a great definition of integrity. And there's a second definition there that is more about wholeness. So, like if the
Wholeness. Yeah.
chair you're sitting on has integrity, we trust that it's not going to fall apart when you sit on it, and
Yeah.
it's whole and complete.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that we know a human is whole and complete is if their word works. So when they say they're going to do something and they do it, we would say, okay, if there's wholeness and completeness in this person because they are doing what they say they're going to do. And uh the reason you invest in a coach is to go create things you've never done before. Like you have a vision of something you want to go create, and for whatever reason it's not happening. And so, but one of the primary ways we create in the world is with our words.
Yeah.
So if you say, I'm going to make dinner,
Yeah.
you announce it and then you make dinner, you've created it with your words and then you go act it out. Right. And so it's very hard to go create new things if your word doesn't work. And so that was one of the early things that I saw you grab onto. And, another analogy is like when your word doesn't work, it's like riding a bike that doesn't have integrity, like the chain's falling off,
Yeah.
the tires are flat. And it's, you describing your life before understanding this concept of integrity is almost like riding a bike that the chain's falling off, the
Yeah.
tires are flat. And that experience is crappy.
Yeah. It
It's
is.
like, it's slow, it's not fun. It takes twice as much energy to get the bike distance you want to go. And so, yeah, this idea of integrity is like really foundational. It's really hard to build anything if we don't have trust in your
And
word.
I experienced that right away. Like it helped transform just the way I thought about myself, the way I wanted to be out in the world. Like I said, not only in business, but just with my family and everything. I know my wife saw an immediate shift in the way I responded to things and the way I was speaking and committing to and renegotiating or committing to. Yeah, it was initially it was a really, really good shift.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just touch real quick on that self-care because I almost heard you talking about integrity as a tool for self-care, like you felt the weight come
Yeah,
off of you.
absolutely.
And
And that I knew there was a weight on me, but I didn't know where it was coming from. That's the big thing.
mm,
I didn't know where it's coming from. And you helped me that right there, that helped me see like it was an immediate release as soon as I repaired some of the things that I'd done in the past to break that integrity and then moving forward. It was I could feel the release.
wow, yeah. We talk about it like almost like you have this backpack, and every time you say yes, I'll do something, it's like you're throwing another piece in your backpack, and until it's done, like that thing stays in the
Yeah.
backpack, and it just starts getting heavy. And so, but yeah, you start experiencing life overwhelmed, heavy, low energy. I mean, all these things
All these
because
things. Yeah.
you're just carrying so much that you didn't know that you put in your pack. And so, yeah, we got to dump out figure out what you're going to say yes to, what you're going to say no to. And then you mentioned this really key part of it is renegotiating your words. So tending to your words. So if it, if you know you're not going to be able to do something by the time you said you were going to do it,
Yeah.
great. Let's talk to the appropriate parties, renegotiate, get a new date, or say you're not doing it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And then once you have that commitment plan, then you can move on and the weight comes off.
Yep.
So that's huge. I love that. Um, yeah, and then so that tool just like hit hard, and then we got into the season of vision,
Hmm.
and yeah, I would love to hear you just talk about what that was like to start getting into a season of just
Yeah.
envisioning.
I would always hear that word vision. It felt so foreign to me. Like I don't know what I want for my company. I don't necessarily think about my life, 5 years down the road. And I think it was just that practice of not really even just thinking about it. And like, I was always like, okay, as long as I'm getting these jobs and doing the job well, I'm okay with that. Like, just keep on churning. Like, but I wasn't really paying attention to what I was making. There's always money in the bank. How much was it? We're doing jobs. I was doing the job well. It looked great, but like, did I make money on it? All these things were, I was still so vague with. And then we went to a couple weeks or almost a couple months of trying to figure out what that vision is for me and my
Mm,
company, and I think part of the business side, but also the personal side, and finally is like, okay, yeah, I know what this is now. I want to shoot for something, and the crazy thing about it is that I'm really goal oriented. Like if I see something in front of me, I go after. Like if I know that's there, like whether it be
100%.
working out or training for a marathon, like I know how to train, right? And so I never had that financial number for the company or financial offset for the inside of within the company. I never had that, and so we said, okay, what are you doing now? What do you want to shoot for? And the other big thing was the whole intuitive fence, right? And I
Mm,
know you can expand on that a little more, but that was a way for me to shift my mind too, in terms of like the easy being in the middle of this circular defense, and like you said, I remember very clearly, it's like, so, like, you're making, the most you did was 2.5 million in a year. What if you did 10 million? I was like, whoa, no way I can do that.
mm,
But that practices that. I was like, okay, what would it take for me to do 10 million? Then your mind starts working. And so that, like, those little practices help me think, okay, what can we really do with this? And how can I grow? And I think looking back now, it's like it's helped me come to where we are now in the company, right? In terms of two project managers, two coordinators, where when I first started, we didn't have any of that, or it was very
totally.
limited. So that part of the vision in establishing, like, all right, this is the financial revenue that we want to hit for the year. And I remember it was a stretch. It was a stretch for me. It's like, okay, how am I going to do it? And we broke it down. We're gonna have X amount. So this means you're gonna have to do the X amount of proposals every month to be able to win percentage of those proposals, then to be able to make this part of your revenues.
Mm,
When we did that and established that, was the first time I'd ever done that. Yeah.
mm,
That was the beginning of us, right? The beginning of us starting in this. Okay, what's our sprint then? What are we going to work for this month? Right. All right. Yeah, 1.2 million or 800,000 this month. How are you going to get that? Right. Who are you going to contact to get this? How many more new leads are you going to get? How are you going to get those? So it was just a great roadmap of how I was going to get there. But it all started with like, okay, I'm going to be out there. How am I going to get there? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned that athlete mindset because yeah, that was one thing that I think really served you in this process is give me a goal, give me a target. And every time we do that, it
yeah,
just creates this clarity. And then I just see you just like move right toward it. And it's so fun to watch, man, because your brain wants to be right about things. I mean, we all love to be right when you're in like a fight with your wife and you're like, I'm right. And it feels so dang good, right?
yeah,
And so the question we need to be asking ourselves is what are we giving our brains to be right about? And so when we start talking about vision and then we bump that thing down clearer and clearer and clearer, we start to get to this very clear number, this very clear objective, this very clear result. And then now that your brain has clarity, it's not spinning its wheels trying to get clarity. Like if you said to me, I just want to make more money and I
yeah,
handed
yeah,
you $1,
yeah.
you're like, cool, we get more money. But if you gave me a number, the brain then goes, how would we go create 10 million? Right. Just like you said. And I think like Jack, what I appreciate about you is like I feel like you always approach those conversations from like a space of a kind of awe and wonder of like, well, what if we could do 10 million? Because sometimes what can happen is you throw down 10 million and all of a sudden fear floods the system. I don't know if we could do that. And I'm sure that came at different times where fear wants to jump in there and start running the show. But I think that has really served you well in our work together of just this wonder, this curiosity, what if we could, and just letting your brain go down that road a bit and then see what comes up. And we don't have to commit to it, we don't have to do it, but let's just see what comes up.
I
And
think
so
you said something right now that I forgot to mention, just about when I first started with you, and this is, I think, really key in where I am now, and just how I think about things, but is that fear, that scarcity mindset. I don't remember if you remember that. I used to have that. I have to grab onto everything, or I can't do this because I'm afraid of what might happen. I might not be successful, or I might not, not complete it, or I can't. I don't want to train my people because then they might leave, or that kind of
yeah,
mindset.
that's right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that? Like,
Yeah.
so I am, looking back, it's easy for me to see, but I had that mindset when we first started, like that.
Yeah.
I gotta grab onto things. I gotta hold on to them. I don't know if I can take that leap because I might not be successful, or I might not hit that number, or whatever the case may be. And I'm still a work in progress with that, but I've definitely jumped over to the abundance side. and then you and I have talked about this, and it's totally from God's love for me, and
Mm,
him and me knowing that and trusting that, that is like, "Oh, I have enough. You've been so abundant to me, Lord. Hey, I now wanna give out," right? Holding on or being fearful about the consequences of what it is and trusting God's plan in all of it. So, I don't wanna let that go 'cause that was a huge part of me
dang.
transforming. It still is. I'm not perfect with it, but still, because the doubt comes in sometimes, the fear, but then boom, right over like, "No, Lord, you're good." So, yeah.
So those are some really good like, yeah, even because it's so cool to just hear you talk about your team and how you saw them and now how you see them because like you have so much more trust in your team now. You're investing a lot of your time, your money, and your resources in order to build them, which is a totally different. You wouldn't be doing that like if you were still stuck in like if I build these people, they'll leave and start their own company.
Yeah, uh-huh, yeah, yeah,
Like yeah, that's wild. And then I remember recently you were telling me a story because, and we'll get to this in a second, but you're in the ground zero of the Altadena fires like, that happened. And there's a lot of contractors like flooding into that space to go help rebuild Altadena, which is rad. But at the same time, there's probably huge temptation to want to get like, almost like a Smeagol from Lord of the Rings of just like mine me
yeah,
like I
yeah,
gotta the scarcity wants to call
yeah.
out and say there won't be enough for me, right? Because all these other people are coming in
Yeah, and
and
if I'm honest, that happens, and it happens, but then, like I said, I realize it. I said, like, "Lord, I trust you whether I do 1 home or I do 1,000 homes in Altadena, right? I trust you in this process," and that's what gives me the hope. That's what gives me the strength to move forward and not have that, like, I don't know if it's competitive mindset, but just that scarcity mindset, like, "There's not enough, there's not enough." It's like, "No, I trust you, Lord. Things are gonna come, and I know our team's gonna do what you called us to do in this space." So,
yeah. It's interesting. Let's just stop there for a second because like it's interesting to hear you talk about what's going on in your heart. Like, hey, I'm noticing scarcity come up or the fear of not getting enough jobs or whatever it may be. And then it starts influencing the mind and how it starts thinking and seeing people as competition or scarcity, right? And then that starts creating your actions. I remember stories you're telling me about, other contractors you're seeing like at the planning office in Altadena, and how like there's a choice there. I could be antagonistic. I could be not wanting to help this person, not share wisdom, which I know you're working through, but then making choices that are like, no, wait a minute. Like, as you said, like God has given me what I need. I know how he sees me. He sees me as beloved son, right? Like, and like I commune with him multiple times a day to reinforce that truth. And that basically, I feel like what you're saying is it like buoys your heart in a way
yes.
above the waterline of
Buoyant
scarcity,
heart, exactly right.
fear, right? And then your heart's buoyant enough in love,
Yeah,
like you're existing in a worldview of love that then allows your mind to like relax and rest and go, you know what? There's enough for me. There's enough for others. I mean, is that how you would describe it? Like,
absolutely, and like like I said, like I described before, is that's how my heart was buried in fear, and I know it sounds, I don't know if it sounds simple or corny, but just like knowing God's love for me is allowed, and communing with him and daily and not moment by moment, moments, multiple moments throughout the day is allowed that my heart to be buoyant and then to be able to
yeah,
pour out into others, right?
yeah.
And that's been a huge shift for me. Um,
Mm,
just that, not having that scarcity mindset. Yeah.
yeah. And you do a really good job of like, cause like one of the first questions I ask you when we come in is like, hey, how's your heart coming into the call? And really what I'm asking is tell me what's rattling around in your heart. What are you believing in your heart right now? And if you're like me, like I'll start my day a little bit anxious as I've shared in previous podcasts. And like, I'll be believing things like I'm not good enough. It's all up to me. Like there's not enough. And that's what's rattling around in my heart. And so when I ask the question, hey, how's your heart? What's the narrative of your heart right
Yeah.
now? Just bringing that out into the light and shedding light on it is so helpful because it's literally the groundwork, the bedrock of how you're going to go perform that day.
Yep.
Because if you're running on, it's all up to me, I'm
Yeah.
not enough. Guess what? Guess how you're going to go and perform in the world. You're going to perform in scarcity. You're going to be short with your wife, right? Because your heart's under attack. And so, how do we get your heart freed up submerged in fear and into that space of love that then allows you to go run free and light
And
as you go
create,
to
and like
move.
you said, and create. I think it's create. It allows my heart, my mind, everything to create. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, man. Oh, that was a good bunny trail. So like, so that was like year one, right? And I know we're wrapping up year two here, and you and I worked together in 6-month increments, and you've kept renewing, and it's been cool to see why. But if we're starting to shift into year two, Altadena happened,
Yeah.
10 months
Yeah.
ago. Like, let's just pause for a second and just share your experience of what happened at Altadena, like being a resident there on the street that you live on, multiple homes get burned up.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like only yesterday. I mean, I can't believe it's been 10 months now, but it seems like only yesterday when we were there, and, Tuesday night, the night of the fires began, we left my home and picked up the things we needed to pick up and thought, our home's done. We saw the
Mhm.
fires. It looked like they were right next door. They're still up in the mountains, but it was coming. The winds were ferocious. It was the craziest energy I've ever experienced and just with the winds, the fires, everything going on, darkness.
Mm.
Fortunately we had light. We had solar panels, but we left the house and we had the things we had and picked up a couple bags and right, all right, our house is gone, right? And I remember when I got the call from my neighbor who stayed, and he's like, "Hey, there's houses burning on our block, but our houses are good. Come back and save your house. You can save your house." What's that?
They
Oh,
let you back in?
at this time there was so much chaos. They hadn't even set perimeters yet, right? The first Wednesday, there's no perimeter. I think but only by Thursday when they started setting perimeters, allowing people to come in and out. But this
Mhm.
time it was still so fresh and so chaotic. There wasn't enough firefighters to put on anything, or not anything, but everything. I remember, and I always remember my wife Jen saying, like, I was like, I want to go help my. She's like, no, you can't. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. I was like,
Mm.
I'm not gonna be stupid about it. I'm not gonna risk my life if the house is burning, but I can prevent the house from burning. And she did not want me to go. She was putting her foot down, and fortunately I had a friend who's an ex-firefighter, Ron, who said, "Let him go. He's gonna be okay. Let him go." And she relented. And I went, and one of the things that I'm so happy that I did then, I was like, I wanted to bring my older son, 17-year-old, my 17-year-old son, like him. He can help us, right? My younger son is still 13, and she, I think reluctantly, but said, "Yeah, that should be good." And so yeah, he came, and then my sister came, and my brother-in-law, my cousin, and a couple of
Mm.
we prepared the house, right? There's houses burning down on the west side of our block. On the east side, we were trying just to protect our house first. We got it all watered down, and then we started working out in the neighborhoods, right? We started trying to put out any little fires we could in neighborhoods because there weren't firefighters, because
Mm.
they're all spread out throughout the whole, throughout all Altadena and Pasadena.
Yeah.
And so, we helped multiple neighbors on the blocks below us, and then we got down to the point where we ran out of water, right? So our houses are still, but the house is still burning on the west side of us. As this last house was a house that's on fire, and right next to it, which was 5 houses down from our house, was a two-story house that if this two-story house had gone out on fire, it was just gonna be the domino effect of the houses because we ran out of water. So, it was so awesome to see the community, my group of family and friends coming in, other neighbors around here using pool water with my plumber's pump to wet down the thing
No.
because water was scarce. We'd have occasional a water truck come in and put out water, and I remember this is the point I remember so vividly is, like, we were trying to put it out, but we couldn't because the big tree got out and we just have enough water. And I remember at the point saying, we're done. We can't do anymore. And my
Mm.
hope level is down to about 2% that we're gonna save our house. And then out of nowhere, out of nowhere, a helicopter, the only helicopter all day long came with water is coming and I could see it. And it dropped. It dropped the water. Perfect shot onto the house that was burning next to the two-story house.
Whoa.
Boom! And I have a video of it, and someday I'll show you, but I have a video of just me screaming out of joy because I went from 2% hope to
Yeah.
about 80% hope, like, "Okay, there's a chance, right? There's a chance."
Yeah.
And then we just kept on fighting. We fought from the back side of the house, and then the firefighters fought on the front side with the water they had, and we put out the house.
Mm.
Put out that fire of the house, and it saved that two-story house, and then everything else was saved, from there, or at least on the east side of the block, and we lost 10 homes on our block. We lost 10 homes on our block. So, yeah, that was a crazy day, and when I talked about my son, I'm so glad he was there because he had his sort of rite of passage. He literally, you could see one day to the next, he from a boy to a man because he did some things that he didn't believe he could do, like, at courageous things, like, he always thought he was a boy of fear who had, thought overthought things, and he stepped in, brought water, brought whatever
Mm,
we need, was in the fire, helping, and he overcame his fear and was courageous, and he had his man moment, from a boy to a man, so it was just a special, special time. Yeah.
dang, dude, that's what a oh yeah, that's a heavy story, man. And to see like it's crazy too, like how hard you were even just fighting for a neighbor's house,
Yeah.
like and
Yeah. Yeah, and it was the best part about it is, like, the people, the community, like, some people don't even know they're just there, they wanted to help 'cause that's who was left, right? There's too much going on for firefighters to be everywhere, so the community helped, people stepped in, right? Whoever could help stepped in, right? It was really, really awesome to see, and yeah, it was one of the things I'll always remember, this moment I had with my son, this moment we had as a community. Yeah, I'll never forget that, and the crazy thing about that, Seth, like, the next day on Thursday, that's when I talked to you about this vision is like, I'm made for this moment now, like, house burn, like, I'm gonna help my community as a builder, as a trusted member of this community, build back, right? It was that next day. It was soon after that. I remember just feeling that, like, this is what God made me for just in this moment, right? The resources I have, the things I've learned over these years, all of this to help build back this community, and I didn't know at the time what capacity, but I just felt really called for that.
yeah, yeah, that I'm glad you said that because yeah, I remember that conversation. Like you came back like so clear
Yeah,
and
clear.
so convicted about and I wonder if it was even too like you felt clear and convicted because you did the thing first. Like you watched yourself do things you never done before, watched yourself be part of a leadership. I've been there. I've literally been through the fire
Right.
and now I'm ready to step fully into what I feel like God's calling me to, which is to love my neighbor and go rebuild this thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, man, that launched a whole new vision conversation around what does it look like to move from high-end remodels to
Mhm.
building as
Ground up
many
home.
homes as we can figure out how to
Yeah.
build, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And I think to do that, like you had been around the block enough to know that you couldn't do that on your own.
Yeah.
And it
Mhm.
was like, I need a team that I can trust.
Yep.
And so let's talk about that for a second, because a huge shifts have happened in how you see your team and like how you see them now.
Yeah, I think one of the things that even towards the end of it, the first year that we worked together is, like, we you'd help me see me as a new, type of leader, because 'cause I've always seen myself as a leader in sports and all the sports I've played, but a different type of leader, within the company, within my family, and it was like I'd done the work on myself, and I'm still a work in progress, don't get me wrong, but how can we shift to the team? Like, how is that gonna translate to the team? And I think I was out at the end of that year is that initial conversation, should we get Sarah a coach? And I remember thinking, "No, no, it's more money. I can't afford having another coach for not only myself but for Sarah. And is she ready? Like, can she take up this new role? I don't, I had all these doubts, right? All these doubts. So that was the sort of combination. It was both of them, right? It was both because she started in January of this year too. I think January, no, December. I forget when she started. Like at the end of the year or very beginning of the year. I think it was right at the
Yeah.
end of the year. And so that was that shift, man. And we took the plunge. Like, all right, if I'm honest, like I wasn't 100% sold, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it, right? I think this could be a good thing for her too, and not only has it been a good thing for her, like just personally, but it's helped the company so much. Like you said, that trust of being able to transfer responsibilities to others so that they can do the work that I'm not no longer that bottleneck, and so that we can have processes and procedures so that this company can grow even more and do more, right? So I
Mm,
think that I didn't want to let that pass by as part of this because it all sort of came together and it was coming together in early January and Sarah working with her and us working with this vision of what it looked like to build an Altadena as well as do Casa Bonita builders.
yeah. Wow. So Sarah was a project manager, and then what is she now growing into?
Yeah, so Sarah was project manager prior to, so she and I both project manager. Now she's head of operations. She's head of over all of our operations, and she's delegating roles. She's setting up schedules along with our project coordinators. Whereas I was always the one doing it. I was always the one leading the meetings. She's leading all her meetings with regards
Mm.
respect to all that. That's a huge shift for her, huge shift for her. And she's thriving in it. She's developed her own processes that have helped in our team in terms of being able to see things differently on screen. She's done just a phenomenal job of that.
I mean, I have two curiosities there. One is technically you could have led her, you could have coached her, you could have stepped in and created a space for her growth, but you chose to have an outside coach do that and trust an outside coach to hold a space for Sarah to vision, to start noticing her word,
Yeah,
noticing
yeah.
her mindsets and how she
Mindset.
might be
Yep,
living
yep.
her way, right? I guess I'm really curious why in the end did you choose to let somebody else do that for her rather than you? Like what how did that go down?
Well, I think it was twofold. One is, I wanted an expert to do it. I learned a lot, and I actually was talking her through things beforehand, even simple concepts that I was learning, like integrity and things of that nature. But I wanted someone who and I wanted her to be completely honest too. Like, I want her to really try to dig deep, right? And so she could probably be honest with me, but I wanted to get her most honest version of herself. And I think having that person who's, has been there, done that, can grow that person so much, who knows specifically exactly what tools to use. Cause there's so many tools. Like, I haven't utilized all the tools that you provided, right? There's so many tools so I think that was the first reason. Cause I wanted an expert to do that. And two is, I think the way I experienced a coach, I wanted her to experience the coach. I wanted her to see that process the way that you helped me see myself differently, right? I wanted that coach to help her do that, and in a good way, right? Because I think Sarah, she would attest to this too, that not only has she grown professionally, but she's also grown personally so much.
Yeah.
And I felt what you've done with me, I wanted her to experience that same thing, right? And Lori has
Yeah.
been so amazing for
Yeah.
Sarah,
Yeah,
so
we gotta
amazing.
give props to Lori
Gotta give
Kruger
props to Lori. Oh my
from
gosh.
Workers Global. She has done
Yeah.
such a good job. Yeah.
Lori has been so tremendous. I love her heart, and she just cares and wants to see people grow too, just like you. That growth mindset is just it spreads, right? It spreads.
Yeah. Like when you think of like the trust level with Sarah like a year ago versus the trust level you have now, like how
Oh,
would you rate the trust?
oh, I mean, it is night and day. I mean,
Yeah.
if I can recall, I remember, talking to Jen about, like, even in the process, like, I remember she'd probably been with Lori for about 2 to 3 months, or maybe two
Mm,
months. And I remember saying, like, no, no, I don't think she has it. I don't think she's going to be able to do it. I really don't. And I remember talking to you about it because I was coming in with doubts, right? And I remember talking to you about it, and you're like, give her your all, like, give her your full belief in her that she
mm,
can do this, and I guarantee you'll turn it around. And I was like, and it made me think, like, oh man, I wasn't. She probably could sense my doubts or my fears as she's growing through this process. And that was a huge mind shift for me. And, like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna, like, you got this, you can do this. I believe in you, I can do this. And I'll tell you what, that I mean, I think it's a combination thing, but that totally helped. One, like, 2 to 3 weeks after that is like, boom, she went from this person of, like, of sort of being fearful too, of like, oh, I got this, I have this. She had her vision, and it was huge. And I blame myself for part of it, for not believing in her, like, for that, having that doubt and whatever we might call it. But it helped change the way I saw her and what she could potentially do. And I think the work with Lori, the combination of all of it, is where she is now. And, like, I completely trust her with things. Whereas before I was like, no, I don't think she can do it. Right. I don't think she has the capacity. But now it's like, she's awesome, and she wants to do more. Right.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah. That process you're talking about, and like you said, it's so multifaceted, but just that one part of your checking in with your heart. How is Sarah occurring to you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right.
And getting the truth out of what your heart's believing about Sarah, about the role, all the things. And I think even just getting it out on paper and noticing, oh, wow, this is what my heart's running on. And then noticing, like, oh, wow, this is how I show up around
Yes.
her because of what I'm believing in my heart, right? And then we get to start inviting in new truth back into the system or choice back into the system.
Choice. Yeah. Huh.
How do I want to see Sarah in this trial that we're doing with her, right? Like,
And
yeah,
we all
it was
said
an
it. It was like,
experiment.
this is an experiment. Like, can she
Yeah,
be head of operations, right? That was the
yeah,
experiment. Can she be head of ops?
totally. And Jack, you took a massive risk of investing like a good chunk of change into a 6-month experiment to go invest in Lori to be her coach and to go say, hey, I'm gonna invest 6 months into this, and by the end of it, my whole goal is to have clarity of like 100% yes, let's hit the gas, or this isn't gonna work, right? And so there's a lot of risk in that, and a lot of courage that it takes to go throw down the money, throw down the belief, to choose how you want to see Sarah every day when you watch her, when you're watching the sausage being made of her stepping into her next level of leadership, right? I mean, and so it's yeah, that's takes so much courage to be able to run that
Yeah.
play or
And
run
like,
that.
I could look back now and see how, how awesome it is, but I those you remember, I was like, "Ah, man, I don't I don't think she has it." Like, that was my mindset, right? Yeah, I don't think she can do it. I don't think she can take the weight of the things that are put on her, and totally proved me wrong, and I love that. Love that.
Such a cool story, man. Real quick, even just to mention, Daphne's on the team, like making huge strides in becoming like a really full trusted project manager. And then Joel enters the scene, right? And I know that Sarah has this beautiful vision for how she wants to develop them, their
Yeah, and
team.
that's why I give props to Sarah, because she's
Yeah.
the one that is developing them, right? She's taking that as part of her coaching now, of developing them, not only from project coordinators into project managers, develop the whole process, how to rate them, everything, what they have to work towards to it. It's been
Wow.
awesome, right?
She came up with all that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She came up with all
That's
that.
insane.
So yeah,
I think that's another beautiful example of just talking to your team about vision and started even just asking the question, hey, what's your vision for? Which
yeah,
was like a new question that you hadn't really asked before. And I remember you coming back to a session being like, man, they've said some amazing things of like what's in their vision. And you've just continued to repeat that question over and over again. Well, what's your vision about how we do design work? Or what's your vision about how we manage project? And it's like, we can have a vision for anything.
anything.
So
Yeah,
what's your vision for? And it's been amazing just to see like what has come to the table just simply because you're curious and asking that question and you actually give a crap about what's inside of them. And so really cool to see. And I know with Daphne and Joel and Sarah doing her thing, there's this really interesting moment that's starting to happen right now that's been happening over the summer really, where the company's growing like at a fast clip,
yep.
and yet your experience of life and your experience of leadership is actually, there's more lightness, there's more freedom, there's more
Margin,
margin. Like
margin.
I can spend my mornings with my family and not have to race off to a job site. Talk about that. And also too, you read a really influential book that helped shape some of this thinking too.
Yeah,
Talk.
it's like this last probably 4 to 5 months have been part of that, because like I said, that first year you helped me out tremendously to sort of see things differently, right? But there are still moments in my life where I was hurrying, right? Not quite as badly as I was, but still hurrying, like, "Gotta do this or this." A couple things that happened. Joel, as you mentioned, Joel came in, and started working with us, and after the first few months, like, I could see him as doing a lot more than what he was initially, and so he's been a huge help for me in terms of doing the morning things so that I can have my morning free, right? So that I can be with my family, so that I can take care of things that need to be taken care of in the morning while he's taking care of the job sites in the morning. So that's been a huge thing. But one of the things, like the notices I had, was that I was still in that little hurried mindset. And so I read the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by Comer. And man, that just helped me take this to another level that I want to be. It's like, I can still have all this, the growth, like you said, the growth of the company. That can still be going on, but I don't have to be in that rushed, hurried mindset, right? I can pause and still have the same amount of work, but just the mindset, right? The mindset around that. Like, I'm gonna be rushing from back and forth. Like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. One of the big things that I joke about is actually stopping at a stop sign. That was one of the practices that he talked about. Is like, don't do a California roll. Stop at a stop sign, and it's huge. It's still doing it. It's huge because, like, you get in a hurry, you just go, you go, but you pause, a good pause, you breathe, you say, "Thank you, Lord," made sometimes, and you go on. And just those little changes in my life has
Mm.
helped me to be less hurried, so less hurried, while still maintaining like that same workload. It's been pretty awesome over the
Yeah.
last few months.
Because in order for your mind to be thinking that way, and sometimes your mind informs your heart, and sometimes the other way around. But what is it? And I'm putting you on the spot here, but I wonder what shift happened as a belief system in your heart that allowed you to like, take the pressure off of hurry. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but just curious: is there, what do you was there any belief shifts that happened in you in your heart?
I remember one specific moment with my family. We're heading off to the beach, and I was ready in the car, but my son and my wife, they're a little behind, and I was like, "Come on, let's go, let's go. We gotta get in the car. We gotta go. I don't want to beat I want to beat traffic. I want to go." And they were behind that, and I was upset in the car, and there's no real reason why we had to be at the beach at a specific time. There was just I was in a hurry. I wanted to go. I mean, I was in the car. Let's go. Let's get going. And it set off this bad, um, uh, weight in the car, and I was upset because they weren't, honoring my time that, like, I got ready, they should have been ready, and I made the whole morning a bad morning, like, the drive to the beach was horrible, right? And I was like, "I don't I don't wanna be this." That was one of the last times that, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect with it, but that was one of the time that it was like, "I don't wanna be this way. I don't wanna have this heart, this hurried heart, this anger for no reason, or this being upset for no reason." It's totally that was where I didn't wanna be, right? I didn't wanna be. So then what did I wanna be? I wanted to be a patient husband. I wanted to be a patient father. I wanted to be, someone who didn't have, like, this anger come out for no reasons. I didn't want that. I wanted my heart to be, like you said, supple and buoyant, and that I think to me, that was those elements of being hurried had my heart, like, was keeping my heart underwater, right? And like I said, I'm not perfect in it by any means, but the recognition of it now of, "Oh, yeah, I'm moving towards this hurry, I gotta pause," right? It's
Yeah.
been huge, not only for me, but for my family. So huge.
What do you think you were believing in the car when you were chomping at the bit?
I think that my belief at the time was, like, they don't value my time, they don't value what I do for the family, they don't respect my time. I think those are the beliefs, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and so that's what's kind of rattling around in the heart. They don't respect
Yeah.
me, right?
I was
Like
offended. I was
they don't
offended.
value my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting to slow that down even more. And if we had more time, we could actually just start digging
Deep
into
that
that
deep,
space.
uh-huh.
But it's like, what if we invited Jesus into that place and we just simply said, "Lord, I don't feel valued right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they value my time." And I know there's in the midst of a family moment, it's hard
Yeah.
to pause everything and have that. But
That
like,
would be amazing. That would be amazing
yeah,
if I could stop, pause,
yeah. But at the same time, Jesus is right there.
right there,
He
right there.
really is. And it's like, okay, Lord, like I just confessed that
Yeah,
I say to that,
yeah,
right? And to let him just speak into your heart. He says the most perfect things that your heart needs to hear, you know? And so part of that heart healing comes in those really sticky moments
yeah,
that you just described. And when the heart starts getting healed up and you start going like, you know what? Like he says I'm valued. My father calls me beloved. Like I can weather a moment where my kids might not be very much about the
yeah,
clock right
yeah,
now. You know, like it's not about me right now. Cause I know who I know what my father says about me. Like, and so just replacing that angst of like I'm not valued, which is really a lie.
yeah. It is.
It's a lie that's come in, that's kind of taken up shop in the heart. And it's like, how do we help the lie exit and help the truth enter back in and then send you back out as the dad for that beach day? You know, you'll be you're a totally different dad,
No,
like
totally
on
different
that,
dad, absolutely.
you know? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a nice segue. I'm really curious how like faith integration has been a part of your journey.
Mhm.
I mean, long before we met, faith, like having faith in God, faith in Jesus was a part of your life. And one thing I really noticed that was so beautiful was how open you were to noticing what was going on in your heart. And I think your relationship with God and before we met primed your heart as a way of being moldable, noticeable, curious, right? Sometimes we have like these really locked walls around our heart and people can't get in or
Yeah,
access it. And you don't even have a sense of what's going on in there, but you've been always really open to being curious about what's going on in the heart, which has been cool to see that your heart is softened in such a way with your relationship with Jesus over the years. But like as we think about the last couple years and you're telling this growth story of like what we're seeing on paper, what we're seeing with your team, what you're seeing internally. I'm just curious. I'd love to hear from your perspective just how your walk with Jesus has like been an integral part of that growth process over the last couple of years. How?
Think that that's the foundation for everything. I think as you mentioned, you know, I've I've established my faith a long time ago, but it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And so I truly I love God with all my heart, all my soul, and all my mind. I really do. And I want to honor him in all I do. And part of that is in then loving those around me, right? Loving those. So but one of the hardest things for me is when I do recognize, oh, I'm not loving those around me like I think they should be loved, right? And that was like one of the big notices, like whether it be through integrity or through this hurried state that gave me became anger with my family, right? And all these things that are come up. And again, I'm still a work in progress, but just all the recognition of that I didn't see in myself, like even the whole thing, like if I think back with integrity, like the things in my life that I didn't see in myself, like, wow, I do get angry pretty quickly with my family. And they're quick to call me out on it too, so I'm happy about that
That's
because
cool.
I didn't, I don't see myself that way, but yeah, it's truth, right? They're speaking truth. And so
Mm,
I think God is just continually molding and shaping my heart and my mind, but I'm coming to him with it too. That's not He's not just doing it around, like I'm submitting, like, oh Lord, I want your will. I trust you in this plan. I wanna do what you have me here for, not only in my work and my family. So it's just that the reliance on God's work in my heart and my mind that is, I think, brought me here where I am today. Again, he's still working on my heart. He's still working on my mind and helping me
mm,
see and do things in a little different way. And as you said, like being a little more courageous of thing, like stepping out with the rite of passage with Jacob. We can get that later. But just these little things that are molding and shaping my heart, just so that to be in one with him, to abide in him, right?
mm,
To love him more than I've ever loved him before, so that I can love others in a bigger and
mm.
greater way too. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that explains it well, but that's just how I feel it and see it.
Yeah. I was telling a friend the other day, like, my family and I love watching the show The Chosen, and there's a really cool episode where Jesus is coming back to his hometown. It's the New Year celebration, and he's asked to read. They asked him to come to the synagogue and read from the scrolls, and he reads from Isaiah 61, and he reads this verse that basically says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor," and then he says, "He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted."
Mm,
Right? And that idea, like, most of us don't admit that we're brokenhearted, like, that's not something we have language for or wanna talk about, but, when you wake up in the morning and your heart is believing, "It's all up to me, I'm not good enough, nobody respects and values my time," right? Like, those are pieces of a fragmented heart that have
yep,
brokenness to them, that for
yep,
whatever in the 40 odd years you've been alive, like your heart's been beat up and it's taken some hits and there's been some traumas and people said some things and so just to recognize that like, wow, like Jesus has come to heal that stuff. Like and you said doesn't just have to be a willing participant in that. And so coming to so like you set up this vision of this vision you have for Casa Bonita builders and what you want to create there, what you want for your team. And yet your heart, there's some broken pieces of your heart that aren't really working well with that vision. And through our work together, we've seen how your heart and your mental space isn't actually in congruency with your vision.
yeah,
And your vision's suffering because the heart, there's some broken pieces in the heart, right? And so having Jesus walk with you, knowing that he wants to heal those places, confess those places
yeah,
of your heart that are
yeah,
broken, and then let him come in with his truth
yeah,
and heal. Man, we're talking about
yeah,
bedrock identity, bedrock heart healing that then again helps that heart surface and get buoyed again to go out and do courageous things, right? Like, so yeah, tell us about that. Just that courageous jump into leading Jacob in his rite of passage.
yeah.
What was that?
I remember just having that, I don't know if you call it vision, idea about it, with just specifically with Jacob. I didn't
You
do
had
it
a
with my
vision,
yeah,
had a vision.
the visions.
God puts a desire, a
Yeah,
vision in your
desire,
heart,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
where
he
did that
did.
come from?
Specifically with
Yep.
Jacob, I didn't do it with my older son, JP, but I just remember with Jacob, like, "Lord, I want him I wanna be intentional with having him do this, what I'm calling the rite of passage, just moving from boyhood to manhood, right? I wanna be intentional with him." And then that vision grew. It's like, "No, don't just do it with Jacob." Jacob is part of a school, a smaller school, so there's not, there's like 18 kids, 18 boys, in his 8th grade class, and I was like, open it up to the dads and the boys of his class, right? And you can recall, like, there was fear inside me, like, are they gonna accept it? Are they gonna laugh about it? Are they gonna want to do it? Are they not? All these things that are surfacing.
Leaves are rattling around in the heart.
Yeah, that's right, exactly right. But I trusted in God. Like, no, I trust you in this process. So I sent it out to the dads in a long email about how I planned it out, meeting once a month to discuss what it mean to be from a boy to a man, in Christ, and with a bunch of different things, from identity to courage and resilience to service. And we're moving through this once a month. But I put it out there, and God's so faithful. He's so faithful, and it was so well for the dad, and we ended up having, like, 12 dads, and 12 kids, be part of this group who, and we've met now, twice. We met in September, we've met in October, we're gonna meet again in November. But each time, like, I prepared for that meeting, like, God's still working in my heart, and being able to allow me to teach into these young boys and the dads, and together they're combined wisdom of dads and kids learning, and it's an amazing thing, right?
Mm.
And then the dads came in, like, "Man, what a," and they've said too, "What a courageous thing to step into." And I just praise God for that, right? Because if I'm honest, like I said, I was fearful about it. I was, would this work? How would it be accepted? All these things about it, and God's just been so faithful in the process. And I can't wait to see what God has planned over these next months. And then at the end of the time, when the boys, you move
Mm.
on from 8th grade into middle school, and what that's going to do for their lives. And I just trust that God's going to do a good work in all of it. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, but it's one of those things where I think, like, we always go back to, like, that what does God say about me, right? Like, I am loved, so I can trust what God is doing and working. And so this the process, like, now it's like, oh yeah, okay, what do you have for next month, Lord? What are you gonna put in my heart, or the hearts of the dads or the kids, for this next month?
Man, so it's like it's one little page out of your life, but it's such a cool example, and there's many more that are coming that have already gone. But it's such a great example of like God putting a desire in your heart, and then you're like, I would love to see that happen, and all of a sudden there's now this gap of like where you are. I've never done that before,
Yeah.
and then now this is a thing I would love to go lead. And then just to watch you just get super curious around the gaps. I remember having these conversations around what your heart was believing, how you saw yourself, how you saw God, like how you saw others. Would they see this as dumb or
Yeah.
and then to start like regrounding into the love of Christ and go, I'm gonna sweep fear out of this system, let the love come back in, let the truth come back in, and then go take a risk.
Yep.
And sent the email. And what happened in that moment is like, not only is Jacob now getting the benefit of this rite of passage, like one kid is, but now it's like 12 kids are getting it, 12 dads, and maybe more of their brothers that might get this, or even sisters now. And so it's just so cool to watch. God's like, hey, I put this desire in your heart for a reason, not
Yeah.
because it's going to light you up
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
light all the people up, but it's actually going to create a mini movement that's going to start moving into the hearts of so many people. And who knows, like these kids that are going through this might actually create this for their kids. And it's just saying yes to one act of courage, one risk, and then watching it just expand and then flood you with courage and flood you with alignment.
Yeah, alignment.
You feel aligned as a dad
I do.
because the
So
things that are in your heart are actually happening out in the world. And you're like, dang, I feel aligned. I feel integrity. I feel like the things that I care about and the things I'm made to go create are
And the cool thing about the whole process, because, again, I try to be honest about, like, even after the first month, it's like, okay, is this still the right thing? And God just along the way is affirming it. Like, bringing people into my life and saying, not even knowing that we're doing this. Guys at church who didn't have a dad, and I wish I would have had a dad who could show me how to do this, right? Not even knowing that I'm doing this rite of passage. And I was like, oh Lord, thank you for the affirmation that I can do this with our boys, right? Who do have fathers who can help lead them in this way, right? And so just those little things like that, just yeah, I just can't say say enough, how awesome God is, right? Just working through it.
I love that, man. If we have faith integrated leaders that are checking this out, listening to it, maybe have not worked with a coach before, what would you say to faith integrated leaders that are considering working with a coach? Maybe even not working with a coach, but even just going to go work on their heart in different capacities, whether it's with a therapist, pastor. How would you encourage that faith integrated leader just from your story?
I think God's constantly working. He's always working. He wants the best for us. He wants to bless us. And I think when I surrender and say, Lord, I want to do your will. Like when I that surrender, I think is huge. And so I think for somebody who's thinking about having a coach or therapy or whatever, like just let it go. And I think it's a first step is allowing God to really work in me and what he has me doing. Like for me, it
Mm,
was that first step to say, Lord, this is going to be a good thing. He's shaping and molding me because it is an integrated thing. It's not just about business. It's about the personal faith, my faith journey, right? This is all part of my testimony, my faith journey. So I think don't be afraid to take that first step. I think taking the step, like you heard my stories. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for that first step I took in saying yes, and all the work that is going on in my heart and my mind, and it will continue going on in my. So just I guess that's the biggest thing is don't be afraid to take that first step. Trust, pray about it. Really, truly pray about it. I really believe that. Pray about it, but trust that God's going to do a work in your heart and your mind, so that like he can be glorified in all the work that's happening in your heart and mind, like for the people around you, for the families around you, for the influence you have with your businesses. I think just all around is it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I'm so thankful that I said yes and I took that step.
it's beautiful, man. Love it. Thank you so much, Jack, for just sharing just how this fabric of your life has come together as just a testimony of this is God alive and at work in
Yeah,
my life. Here's the fruit that's coming out of my life. So I just really appreciate your vulnerability, your honesty, just giving us the real story.
yeah, I'm excited to what's coming. I'm excited to see what God has plans for the next 6 months to a year,
Yeah,
what's going to happen. So I'm excited for that too.
such a good adventure.
Yeah,
Well, man, thanks so much for being here.
yeah.